today because you guys are my heroes. Not my hero, my heroes. And if it wasn't for you and all my wonderful teachers, mentors, counselors, my speech language pathologists, therapists, I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't be able to speak, stand up in front of people and do what I do. So thank you on behalf of myself, my family, and all the deaf and hard of hearing. Thank you. And I mean that from the very bottom of my heart. And just a really funny story. I was asked to speak in Dallas, Texas, at the Dallas Cowboy football stadium. And I was asked to speak to all the deaf and hard of hearing in the state of Texas. They brought them all here in the stadium. And my job was to motivate them, get them excited to go on to college. And I don't know if you know this, but in the state of Texas, if you have a documented hearing loss at a certain age, they get a full ride scholarship to a public university in the state of Texas. But a lot of these kids weren't motivated, they weren't excited. And so my job was to like, hey, I'll be a Texas Longhorn. I'll move to Texas just to go get my PhD for free. But anyway, long story short, I was in the ballroom overlooking the football stadium. And I was all by myself. And I noticed a lady in the very, very back of the room just staring right at me. And I ignored her. And 5 minutes later, she was just sitting right here in the very front row. So I walked up to her and I shook her hand and said, hey, how are you? Can I help you? She said, do you remember the musical Osmond family? I said, yes, sir. I don't sing, but well, you don't look so good up close.
Wow.
So I hope I'm not scaring anybody. It's not quite Halloween yet. This is my family. This is my sweetheart, Christy, Evie, and Emma. We actually adopted both of these girls. And we live down in Turk, down in southern Utah. So I had to get up very early this morning to get here on time. But it's so worth it. Why? Because you guys are also family. And I really mean that. And I'm going to share some stories and you'll see and understand why. Imagine your life without sound. Now I know I'm speaking into a room, a very professional group of people that understand what it's like not to be able to hear because you work with these kids all day long. But just imagine for just a moment, put yourself in this scenario. Imagine your life without sound. Imagine not being able to hear the comforting voices of your family, your friends. Imagine not being able to hear music. Imagine not being able to hear Adam give all the wonderful, great counsel he gave this morning, and Michelle Tanner earlier as well. Imagine not being able to hear that and connect like Adam so beautifully talked about. Imagine your life without sound. For you, it might take some imagination, but for me, I've lived it. I was born with a severe to profound hearing loss. You can kind of see the idea of this was an audiogram about 5 years ago. You can kind of see where I'm at. But for the first 2 years of my life, I lived in a world of complete silence, just like you experienced moments ago. And during that time frame, it was difficult. The connection that we talked about, it wasn't there. And then after 2 years, my parents noticed there was something not quite right with me. So they took me to the doctor, and that's when they found out that I had a severe to profound hearing loss. They didn't have newborn screening when I was born, and so I was kind of falling through the cracks. But they diagnosed me, and so they hurry and put on these gigantic, huge hardware devices. They weren't that big, but they sure felt like it. And of course, back in the day, this was 44 years ago. And technology has sure come a long way. You very well know. I had of course, the wires and the big box attached to my belt, which I was so grateful for, so thankful. And for the first time, I got to hear my mom's voice. I got to hear my dad's music. My dad is the lead singer of the Osmond. And I mean, and I'll go into that a little bit more, but I was able to hear my dog bark. I got to hear so many cool things that we take so much for granted. And my all-time favorite, I got to hear the toilet flush. Wow. That's what it sounds like. You take all that for granted, you know? And it was life-changing for me. And, you know, at one point I was disconnected from life. And now with the gift of hearing, I felt connected on so many different levels. But it came with a lot of challenges. As you know, you deal with a lot of them with these kids. And I was a tough kid to deal with. But I remember because of that, I'm now 2 years behind, right? They diagnosed me at almost 2 years old. So 2 years of not being able to cognitively develop my brain to hear and things like that. And so I went into intense speech language therapy. I had amazing people like you that came to the rescue, that helped and worked with me, the one-on-one. I noticed Adam at the very top, the one-on-one. I'm telling you guys, that saved my life. Just looking at me in the eye, and even though I was so difficult and hard to work with, and I wanted to give up, you never gave up on me. And so thank you. And so 12 years of speech language therapy, and you know, I'm now be able to speak with confidence today, thanks to you for helping me get to that point. And even today, people they come to me and they ask if I'm from Canada. From England or even Australia, just because I have a different accent, a deaf accent, if you will. But I'm proud of it. And because of that, I remember growing up in a musical family, world-renowned musical family. Just out of curiosity, who's heard of the Osmond? No offense if you haven't, it's okay. But I remember growing up being socially awkward because of my deaf accent. You know, just feeling left out all the time. And I remember thinking as a young boy, like, man, I wish I had the golden throat like my dad. I wish I had the golden throat like my Uncle Donnie. And I even remember thinking, man, I wish I could sound like Justin Timberlake. But then it dawned on me, thanks to wonderful people like you that helped me believe in myself, build my confidence. It dawned on me then, why do I want to sound like Justin Timberlake? I want to sound like Justin Osmond. That's who I am. That's my unique voice. That's my logo. That's my brand. That's my label. That's my signature. That's who I am. And as soon as I accepted myself for who I was and not what I was so much happier with myself. And you helped me get that. It took me a long time to get that, but I got there eventually. And that's what we're trying to do with our kids, right? And you know, just embrace who you are. Be the imperfect, quirky, real, fantastic you. You need to instill that into your kids. Yeah, they're not perfect, they're imperfect, but that's okay because that's who they are and not what they are. And that's something that, you know, and there's just so many challenges like that I've had to go through, and you deal with that all the time. But I want to share with you a little video. It kind of highlights a little bit of what my life was like growing up in a musical family and what that was like. And so it's not always a lack of hearing, it's a lack of hope. A lot of the kids go through, because everybody has limitations, everybody has challenges, right? This is our challenge that we're dealing with right now. But it was you guys that gave me that hope, that drive, that passion, that motivation, that inspiration, and what I needed to keep going, along with a wonderful family, of course. So here's just a little video I'm going to share with you guys, let you know that we're not alone, and we're all in this together. You hear it okay? One of the biggest challenges in my life, one of the biggest mountains I've ever had to climb, was being born into this musical Osmond family and not being able to hear and understand their music. I remember one time watching my dad perform in front of a sold-out crowd at the New York Madison Square Garden, in front of 20,000 people. The screaming fan, the lights flashing. Hey. Feel the vibration of the drums.
but I could not understand the words of the lead singer, my own dad. It was one of the strangest things because in the middle of a crowd, I felt alone. I felt isolated, disconnected, frustrated. It's one of the worst feelings in the world. And I know many of you out there have had those similar feelings. Thank goodness I had a really good support team around me. I had wonderful parents, I had amazing brothers and sisters that gave me that encouragement and that motivation to keep going and to never give up, even though my self-esteem and my confidence was just rock bottom. I believe that we do not overcome hopelessness by removing the obstacle in our lives. We conquer adversity by not letting it own us, control us, or overcome us, or even define us. My Uncle Alan, who has MS, said that I may have MS, but MS doesn't have me. Helped me create my personal model. I may have a hearing loss, but my hearing loss does not have me.
I believe that there's power and beauty that radiates from someone who has seen dark days, yet they choose to be a light in the dark world, right? So even though I was born in this world-renowned musical family, which was fun, it came with a lot of challenges. I mean, imagine my dad's the lead singer, and I can't even understand a word he's saying. I could hear it, but I couldn't understand it, and it was hard. It felt disconnected. But like I said, I believe that we do not overcome hopelessness by removing that obstacle in our lives. We conquer adversity by not letting it own us, have it, or even define us. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a little bit. But this mentality that you helped me with taught me that we can control the quality of our life just by how we think and act towards those challenges. So that led me to my personal motto, that mentality, that attitude. I may have a hearing loss, but that hearing loss did not have. And it's not that I'm ashamed of having a hearing loss. I love it. It's who I am. I just don't let it stop me from living my life, what I want to do, you know? And the same with your kids. You know, you can teach them, hey, we have a hearing loss, that's okay. Just don't let it run your life, control your life. Don't let the little inside out people inside of them control them, right? They're in control of their life. And recently I was just diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. But doggone it, I may have diabetes, but diabetes did not have me. Does that make sense? I'm still going to live my life and do what I want. We all have challenges. We all have limitations. Nobody's exempt from that. And your kids, if you can just instill that into them at a young age, say, hey, we had this, but it doesn't have to have you, own you, or control you. And the same applies to all of us. And no matter what circumstance we may find ourselves in, right? And so this led me to, when I was talking earlier about how don't let it own you, control you, or have you, or even define you. Let me take that one step further. Don't let it define you. Let it refine you. Let it purge you, mold you, empower you, and propel you forward. So a lot of times, I have a lot of deaf friends that for some reason they just put themselves in a poor me scenario, and they hold themselves back, and that doesn't need to be the case.
The oil.
Sorry, am I saying something?
That's not the dipstick though.
Oh. Okay, I didn't know where that was coming from. Okay, anyway, I believe that refinement is so much stronger and better than definement. It teaches us the lessons of perseverance and hard work, but more importantly, it teaches us who we really are and what we're capable of. And not only that, but I believe that, and how do we do that? We have to embrace who we are, just like I've been talking about, and embrace our challenges, and then allow it to propel us forward, empower us instead of holding us. Does that make sense? I know that's true. And another way we can embrace our challenges is making our life a mission. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that instead of making it a mission. And why do I say that? What does that mean to a group of people like you? I put this in there for this group because I really believe that you guys are on a mission, a very special mission, to really truly make a difference in the lives of the kids that are deaf and hard of hearing. And I came across a quote by Sean Covey that I think perfectly explains who you are. He said, you got to make life a mission, not a career. You see, a career is a profession, but a mission is a cause. A career asks, what's in it for me? But a mission says, how can I make a difference? And that is why you guys are here. You don't have to be here this morning. I know Stephanie Watson. I know you're watching me on Zoom. You're my friend down there in Southern Utah. Good to see you. But you don't have to be here. But you're here because you want to make a difference. And I saw the agenda that you guys are doing here today and tomorrow. And I'm like, wow, you guys are trying to learn all these innovative ways on how to make our lives better, how to make our lives easier. And that really touches me. And I'm so thankful for that. And so thank you for making a difference in our lives so that we can live our lives and be happy and go after our potential and our greatest dreams in life. And so when I say thank you, I really mean it. All these little kids that you're helping us, we don't know what to do. We don't know how to go. But you help us steer us in the right direction. And so thank you for being our hero. And I really mean that. And you've seen the quote so many times by Helen Keller, but kindness is the language that the deaf people can hear and the blind people can see. You demonstrate that kindness. This was one of my very first outreach counselors that came to visit me. She was from Denver. She drove all the way from Denver just to visit me here in Utah at one point. And I had some others here from the Utah School for the Deaf and Blind. But she will always forever be, and she was really tough with me. She was hard with me. I remember she made me have to memorize the night before Christmas. The whole book. I had to memorize that whole thing just to help me get caught up. And she knew I was behind. I feel like I'm still behind, but she helped me get to where I need to be. She was my Ann Sullivan. You are the Ann Sullivan for all these deaf kids that you're helping. And the biggest Ann Sullivan was my mom. And she was always multitasking, feeding the baby, playing the piano, and teaching me. She was an amazing, amazing teacher, and I love my mom. I put together this short little video, and I dedicated it to my mom on Mother's Day a long time ago. But I found it, and I thought it would be appropriate to share with you guys, because even though I dedicated it to my mom, I want to dedicate this to you. To all of your wonderful teachers and counselors and mentors that help all these deaf children. Because if it weren't for you, we wouldn't be. You're the bridge builder so that we can walk across and have a better quality of life. So I dedicate this little video. I was only 3 years old, learning how to talk. Here we go. I heard of a quote by Abraham Lincoln. He said, all that I have and all that I am, I owe to my mother. I just wanted to say a few words regarding my mother. Every morning she would wake me up at 5:30, and right before I went to school, and she would sit me down and she would practice with me hours upon day, week, months, years, until I could, get better speech. And she did that for about 15 years. So it was quite a journey, but all that hard work paid off. And not a day goes by that I don't think about my mom, what she's done for me. Anyway, thank you. I dedicate that to all of you guys. I apologize, I was digging for some gold. But you can see, help me pronunciate it right. Help me. That I'm sure you all been there and done that. And it's just that. But I will tell you this. So her name was Carol. That was another Ann Sullivan in my life. And it was like 30 years later after this. I was talking to my mom, and she knew I was a tough student. And she said, you know, I wonder how Carol's doing. I should probably go back and thank her. Um, you know, and she said, well, I know where she lives. And so we went and found her house. I knocked on the door, and here she was. She's in a wheelchair, and she didn't recognize who I was. And this is 30 years later. I mean, from when I was a little boy to where I am today. And she was kind of grumpy. I think I woke her up from a nap or something. She said, who are you? What are you doing? And I told her who my name was. And she just started to cry. And I started to cry. And because she'd never heard me speak before. Because I was only with her for, I think, about a year, and then I moved on. But for the first time, she heard me speak. And I just wanted to thank her for never giving up on me. And because of her and helping me, I'm where I am today. And it was such a powerful reunion. And I share that with you because you probably have some really tough kids that you're dealing with. But I promise you, there will be a day we'll have an awakening in our lives and realize how blessed we've been. And we will come back. They will come back, and they will thank you for being their hero. And so I appreciate you guys very, very much for helping us with that. There's a lot of people that come into our lives and they quickly go. And then there's some that come and leave footprints in our hearts. And we're never the same. That's you guys. So you might have heard that, I'm sure, but you need to be reminded of that. And it's so true. So true. I wanted to, oh yeah, this is my favorite quote. A lot of people, think that they define what it means to be wealthy. But I love this one. You may have tangible wealth untold, caskets of jewels and coffins of gold, but richer than I you could never be. I had a teacher. I had a counselor. I had a wonderful speech language pathologist, and I had a mother who read to me, who cared about me and loved me. And because of that, I'm a very wealthy man. And those are the kids that you're dealing with. They're so wealthy because of your investment that you put into their life. So, having said that, I want to, anybody know who this is? Lou Ferrigno, the original Hulk. And I'm sure many of you know this, but he was another person that was on a mission to make a difference. He was a great role model in my life, a great example for me. He and I, as you know, I don't know if you know this, he has a very severe to profound hearing loss as well. And he and I shared a lot of stories. Oh, and by the way, who's lifting more weight? It didn't last very long, but he and I were bullied when we were younger. And of course, it's a whole lot better today than it was back in the day. But we had a lot in common. But he said, Justin, it's good to be physically tough, but it's more important to be mentally tough. And because when you enter the real world, you got to be mentally tough and ready to tackle the challenges that's out there. Excuse me. And he also said this. He says, Justin, don't ever limit your challenges, but to challenge your limits. Because we all have them. And in our case, our physical limitation might be a hearing, but challenge that. Make it better. Use that to help bless the lives of other people, whatever you can do. And then he also told me, he says, if people ever underestimate you, you can use that to your advantage. Because people don't expect you to win. They don't expect you to put up a fight. Right? And a lot of people underestimate us deaf people. But we're stronger than people think. And more resilient. We have to work harder. Sometimes we have to work twice as hard as an average hearing person. But we can do that. That teaches us perseverance and hard work, like I just mentioned earlier. And so I think I have some great lessons there. Another person that made a huge difference in my life, and I'm sharing this with you because we can't do it alone, right? We need a pit crew, right? On that run, Tyler was part of my pit crew. I'm not going to tell you how many toenails I lost or things like that, but we were there to help each other get to the finish line. And you guys are all part of that pit crew. We need each other to help each other get there. But there was another person in my life. He was always in my shadow. It was my little brother. And I decided to throw this in last night as I was preparing this, because we're all involved in school, in education, helping our kids have the best academic experience as possible, right? I struggled so hard in school, especially in college. And I barely got my bachelor's degree, and I'm like, "All right, I'm done. There's no more." But my little brother, and he was like my Aunt Sullivan too. He saw what I went through, and he knew. He listened to me. He connected with me, listened to me, and understood what I was going through. But this is a little story about a brotherly love. He wasn't just my brother's keeper, but he was also my caretaker and helped me get through this. And if you watch this, it reminds me of you because you help these kids navigate to the finish line. All right, so here we go. This is my brother's hand.
Growing up, we did move around quite a bit, and it seemed like we never really were established long enough to make very good friends, and so my brothers ended up being my best friends.
One summer, we both got a job at the local cemetery, trimming, edging around the headstone. We both got our bachelor's degree. Get my bachelor's degree was like a hallmark in my life. The younger guy, the smarter guy, had bigger aspirations in life.
They said, you know, we should go back and get our masters together.
And when he said that, I was like, no way. When he said that he would have my back all the way, I was like, okay. I had a really hard time with English and comprehension.
A lot of people don't realize he really only understands about 40% of what people are saying.
But
Yeah. So
I've learned that if it doesn't challenge us, it doesn't change us.
you know, we started the journey together. I did finish all of my requirements about a year before he did. Western Governors University had asked if I was ready to walk and graduate, and I was determined to do it with Justin.
There's one particular exam toward the end. I took it, failed it, took it again, failed it. I did it again, I failed. And so I went and took it a fourth time. I failed. I'm like, there's no way. There's just no way. I'm not smart enough. You studied with me, you trained with me, you prepared me for hours upon hours, and he didn't have to do that. She's done. So I put in more time and effort. I went in and I did it, and I passed. And it was probably one of the biggest celebrations.
We had a big party.
We had a big one.
Justin was asked to be one of the keynote speakers at the graduation. And nobody else would have known what he had to go through to get to that point. But to see him up there, I could not have been more proud of my brother. At the very moment, I feel like I'm on top of the world. And I'm sure every one of you graduates feel the same today.
It's not always about who crosses the finish line first. It's about never giving up. I'm still smarter in some areas.
In some areas, not very many.
I share that with you because you have my back. My Aunt Sullivan, my counselors, my teachers, they always have my back. Just like my brother. And who does that? Who waits at the finish line? Right? They're done. They could easily cross the finish line, get their master's diploma and move on. But who waits there until their best friend? He waited a whole year for me so we could walk across together. And that was just something that really changed my life. But who else does that? I got thinking about you guys. That's what you do. You're at the finish line and you're cheering these kids on because they have no hope, right? And it's just so rewarding when we can walk across the finish line together. And a lot of my speech language pathologists were at my graduation. They were all there cheering me on. It was just a wonderful, beautiful occasion. So thank you for having my back and all the other kids' backs so that they can make it and reach their greatest aspiration in life. To be able, and by the way, for the record, I am smarter than my little brother. But he is a wonderful, wonderful person, big heart, just like you. And that's why I was really excited to come here because I'm not I feel like I'm part of your family. I feel like this is a reunion. I mean, I'm an alumni of USDB. And so thank you. I'm very proud of that. I want to share another person who made a huge difference in my life with my grandmother, the matriarch of the Osmond family. And she would love this group. She has the same mentality, the same mind frame, the same focus, the same passion, the same drive as what you guys have for the deaf and the hard of hearing. This is one of the untold stories of our family. And I was talking to someone earlier. Yeah, Nancy? No, what's your name? Carrie, thank you. You were talking about my Uncle Verl and my Uncle Tom. So my grandmother, her two oldest boys were Verl and Tom, and they were both born deaf. And the doctor told her way back in the day not to have any more children because it was genetic. And if you have more children, they're all going to be deaf and hard of hearing. Thank goodness my grandmother listened. She had 7 more children. And of course, the 7 were perfectly hearing, no problem there, and everything was great. My grandmother, back in the day, didn't have a whole lot of resources like we have today. That's what I'm saying. If she was still alive today, she would be here. She would try to take in everything she had. But she was such a wonderful mentor. She just basically took matters into her own hand and tried to teach her two older sons, Verl and Tom, how to talk and how to speak. And you can see the devices they had back then was not the best like we have today. But she was a huge advocate for the deaf and the hard of hearing. And because she had 9 kids,
I've switched to my phone and I got to go get my oil changed. So
a lot of you know what it's like to raise a family, right?
I haven't gotten the
And so that's okay. I'm good. If you can't hear that, you need to go get your hearing checked. So they didn't have a lot of money back in the day, so they couldn't afford hearing aids. And so my grandpa, George Osmond, he's the patriarch of our family. He was always the one that, instead of going and intermission, he was always on a mission, right? And he said, all right, we're going to find a way to raise some money so we can buy some hearing aids for my 2 oldest boys. So he noticed that 4 of his younger boys could sing, they could dance. And so he formed a barbershop quartet called the Osmond Boys, the Osmond Brothers eventually. And this is really the why of how the Osmonds really got started in show business, entertainment. They started singing and dancing, and they went to little rodeos, little county fairs to raise money so they could purchase hearing aids for their 2 deaf brothers. And ladies and gentlemen, that's really why my family got started in show business, because we were trying to support their 2 brothers with hearing help. Now I'm going to tell you a little story about how the brothers really got started. Have you ever had a point in your life where this is going to be a big break, right? How many of you ever heard of this show? Yeah, I'm glad. All of you younger folks, and you tell me, what do you think? The Lawrence Welk show back in the day would have been equivalent to maybe American Idol today, right? It was just a big show back then. So my dad was only 8 years old, and they had a chance to audition on the Lawrence Welk show, which was a big deal. This is going to be their big break. They practiced really hard. They get in their old family station wagon. They drive all the way from Ogden, Utah, all the way to Los Angeles and Hollywood to do these auditions. Well, they get there, and so excited. And all of a sudden, Mr. Lawrence Welk actually came out and said, I'm so sorry. We don't have any more room on the show for you guys. I'm so sorry it came all this way. I apologize. And you can just imagine this big break turned into a heartbreak. And they could have easily have gone into intermission, kind of gone into a holding pattern, could have gotten depressed. And they were sad, don't get me wrong. But my grandpa was like, no, we're on a mission. We're here for a reason. So he said, all right, get in the car. We're going to Disneyland. So they go to Disneyland, and like we're gonna try to stay happy and positive about this whole experience. And to go through Disneyland, who's all been to Disneyland? Okay, hopefully many of you have. You guys remember this group right here? The Dapper Dan? They're also an adult barbershop quartet. And my dad and uncle just idolized the Dapper Dan. They're like mirror images of young, or they all dressed alike. They wore the same socks and shoes, everything but the same underwear. And so they're watching the Dapper Dan perform. And all of a sudden, the Dapper Dan couldn't help but notice four little boys right in front of them that looked just like them. And so they invited them up on stage and invited them to sing. And one song led to the next, and people were applauding and laughing. Yeah, this is awesome. And you'll never guess who was watching. My dad. Who?
Walt Disney.
Walt Disney. Mr. Walt Disney was watching my little dad and my uncle perform. And so Walt Disney, I mean, imagine being 8 years old, Walt Disney invites you into his office. Right? It's like every little kid's dream. And it was Mr. Walt Disney that gave our family a big break.
Wow.
And so from there, you know, and you guys remember the Andy Williams show? They kind of just took off from there. But just imagine, what would have happened to our family if when, you know, we were rejected, I mean, my grandpa could have easily just gotten back in the car and just drove all the way back home to Ogden, Utah. Where would our life be today? Right? And what if my grandpa didn't believe that he was on a mission instead of going into intermission? That's why I said that earlier. You're on a mission. You're here to make a difference, whatever that may be. And just a couple lessons we've learned in our family is that when one door closes, another door opens. It happens every single time. And I love this because this reminds me of you. I threw this in last night as I was preparing. You know, these kids that you work with, they think like this. That's how I thought. Oh, that's a piece of cake. No problem. But oh no, we hit reality in the face, and that's when you guys come in. You guys are the zip line. You guys are the airlift. You guys are the cruise line. You're the bridge builder, and you're the ladder. You help us get across our obstacles, our challenges. You help us reach greater heights. And when we keep having a problem, you're the one. You're the one that helped us get to the finish line. And so I wanted to point that out that you never ever give up. And I threw this in there too because in the last week we found 2 mice in our pen. I don't know how it got in there, but anyway. But never give up. Especially Walt Disney, and we'll be forever grateful to him. But you never know who's watching. These kids, you're watching these kids, and you're helping them be all they can be. So our family, we have become huge advocates for the deaf and hard of hearing, for what you guys are doing. And we appreciate you and thank you and love you, and I can't thank you enough for all you do. These are my deaf uncles right here, Bill and Tom. That's my dad. The truth is they all have gray hair now. So that's my wonderful family, and so we're good. But another untold story. Going back to my grandmother, helping my two deaf uncles. There were no resources back then. So she created a nonprofit called the Osmond Foundation, which was 100% primary to help the deaf and hard of hearing. There was no Utah School for the Deaf and Blind yet at that time. If there was, I'm sure she would have loved to have been part of your wonderful association. But what's interesting about this, and a lot of people don't know this, the Osmond Foundation grew, and it's now known today as the Children's Miracle Network.
Oh.
So my grandmother, my sweet grandmother, the co-founder of the Children's Miracle Network, is now helping not just the deaf, but many children of all sorts of different diseases. And around this time, I was born, and I became the favorite grandchild of my grandmother, because I'm the only one in all of the second generation, and there's a lot of us, that was born with a severe to profound impairment. And because of my grandmother's passion for the deaf and hard of hearing, we just had an immediate connection, and we became best of friends. And a lot of my cousins would argue with that, but I really do feel like I was a very grandchild. In fact, I loved her so much that when she passed away, I wanted to carry her legacy and and her story. So I started a charity called the Olive Osmond Hearing Fund to help. And that's what Tyler, you were helping with that on that run. And what I do is this is one of the things I do. I collect salvage hearing aids, and then they're obsolete, not working anymore. I take them and then I refurbish them. We condition them so we can use them again to help families that can't afford hearing aids. And I do all of that in honor of my grandmother, whom I love very, very much. And I partnered with a lot of the hearing aid manufacturers out there to help me make this happen. But if it's okay, I think we're good on time. I'm going to share a little video. I've been very fortunate and blessed because someone gave me a chance to be able to hear, to be able to hear with conviction, be able to speak with passion. I wanted to pay it forward because of what you did for me. I wanted to pay it forward. So I've been very blessed. I know, Tyler, you've been around the world too. I think we went on one mission to Mexico together. And so these are just some of the highlights of some of the kids. And it's hard for me to remember when I heard my mom's voice for my very first time. But every time I was able to help some of these other kids, I was able to speculate what that was like when I heard for my very first time. Here we go. This is called Bring Music to Your Ears.
You've never ever heard a bird sing. You've never heard your mother's voice. You've never heard the crashing waves upon a sandy beach. But things are all about to change. Just see the people gathered round. Tonight you receive the gift of sound. Welcome to a life you never knew. You've waited long enough to hear the world around you. Whoever said dreams don't come true, you have not the last to fear. You cry only happy tears when we bring music to your ears. What you hear the ringing of your own name, and the babes crying down the hall, and a song playing on the radio. You will never be the same. Your family and friends are gathered round. Tonight you receive a gift of sound. Welcome to a life you never knew. You've waited long enough to hear the world around you. Whoever said dreams don't come true, you have got the laugh to fear. You'll cry only happy tears when we bring music to your ears. There could be no better surprise. We can see the joy there in your eyes. Welcome to a life you never knew. You've waited long enough to hear the world around you. Whoever said dreams don't come true, you have got the laugh to fear. You'll cry only happy tears when we bring music to your ears. We bring music to your ears. when we bring music to your ears.
That was my dad that sang that. I don't know if you saw my two deaf uncles, Bill and Tom. Tyler, I know we've been on quite a few together. That's what you do every day. And it's so fun. We need to get rid of the misconception or the misunderstanding that just because something in our life is broken, that we're disabled or impaired. No, it's an advantage. It's not a curse, but a blessing. It's not a penalty, but an opportunity. This type of mentality has helped me. The type of mentality that you helped me with has helped me to defy the odds of doing things I was told I could never do. Today, I play the violin, play the viola, I play a little bit of the piano. I wrote a book. I went and got my master's degree. I started a charity, and I love being able to conquer my fear and get back as a motivational speaker, even with a deaf accent. Speaking of, and again, that same mentality we can instill in our kids and our children, just like you did for me, will help us so much. It'll take us places. It'll help us build that confidence to where we need to be today. Speaking of writing a book, this is my book that I wrote called Hearing with My Heart. A lot of stories, a whole lot more than I want to share with you, but who would like a copy of my book? It's here for the taking. Whoever wants a copy, come get it. Come get it. If you see something you want in life, go after it. Go for it. I have more books, don't worry. I just wanted to share a couple more things. This little boy right here, you probably saw him. I've seen this 1,000 times, and I never get tired watching it because remember when I said earlier, it's hard for me to remember what it was like when I heard my mom's voice for my first time. This little boy reminds me of me when I was his age, when he literally heard for his first time. He was a little older than 2. He was probably more like 4 or 5 years old, but 4 or 5 years old in complete silence. This is in India. It's outside of Delhi, India. And just watch this little boy as he literally lights up like a Christmas tree when he hears his mom's voice for the very first time. That's just, and I want to point out a couple things. You noticed there was no word coming out of his mouth, no vocabulary. He'd never heard. And so he'd never had speech therapy, he'd never heard anything. And so blah, 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 right? I mean, but he was just so excited he could hear. And I didn't get this on video. But there was one point where he was going, ba, 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 ba. He's trying to catch his own voice. He didn't even know what that was like. He didn't know, blah, blah, what is that? Come back here, you know? Like, it was just, I wish I had gotten that on film. But isn't that incredible? And in fact, the mother of this little boy, you could, oh my goodness, she was a basket cake. She was just so happy. Like, she never, talk about hope, right? She now sees a little boy just so happy. And she came up to me and said, I've never seen my little boy so happy in my entire life. And then she said this, and this is out of the love of everything she had for her boy. She said, is there any way you can take my little boy back with you to the United States of America so that he could have a better quality of life? And of course I couldn't. I would have if I could. I've already adopted 2 girls. I would have taken another boy if I could. But then she said this, and this is what I want you guys to take home. If you took anything from me today, I want you to take this next quote that she shared with me that literally changed my life. It has been etched to my heart for as long as I live. And she said this, I hope you never measure your life by the days you have lived, but by the smile you leave behind. And thank you for putting a smile on my little boy's face. He says, I've never seen him so happy. And that's what you do. That's exactly what you do. You are putting hearing smiles on these kids' faces and changing their life for the better. And I thank you for that. You put a smile on my face. And so thank you. Just a little reminder of that. But I wanna close today. Remember when I said earlier about how when someone underestimates you, you can use that to your advantage? Well, all growing up, even though I was born into a musical family, I was underestimated. People told me I could never play a musical instrument. Why? Because my ears are broken. I mean, that's my violin stand partner. I wasn't the best at it, but I tried. I never gave up, right? And even though I can't sing, which I can't, um, I feel like I'm the black sheep of my family when it comes to singing. But I've always wanted to master the violin and the viola when we played together. But when I was younger, I wanted to make the impossible possible, right? How can I play something when my intonation is out of whack? It's either sharp or flat, and how do I get it right? And I learned through a lot of experimentation, experience, failures, and whatnot. I learned to master this violin, not by hearing it, but by feeling it through the conductive vibrations of the instrument. So I had to kind of take a little shortcut. But when there's a will, there's a way. And that's what you taught me. It's if you want something bad enough, you can find a way to make this work. And so over the years, I could play in orchestras and things like that. But then I got to a point where I wanted to play with a musical track. And that was always a challenge for me because when I play the violin, I can't hear the track. And when the track is playing on the speaker, then the speaker sound overpowers me being able to hear myself play the violin and hear the music track at the same time. So what I've had to do is, and I got to set this up while I do this, but 1 second. It's I wish there was an easier way for me to do this, but this is how I've had to do this. 1 second here. Pull this up. Okay, here we go. That. I make sure that's on. So what I have to do, 3 steps. 1, I have to really focus on feeling the violin when I play it, because that's really how I hear it. Number 2, I have to turn up I have to connect the Bluetooth, stream the music track that's coming either from my phone or from my computer, whichever I'm playing the track from. And then when it's in there, I have to just turn up the volume as loud as I can. Okay? And then the third one, which I had to learn to do, is I have to, 1 second, I have to mute my hearing aid microphone. So right now I can't hear myself because I just muted my microphone. And that means I can't hear the speaker, which this isn't on right now. Okay, there we go. So when I play this, you're going to hear it coming from the speaker. I won't be able to hear that. And there's a reason for that, because if I did, I would be able to hear myself play. Does that make sense? I kind of have to find that sweet spot. And then I have to turn my hearing aid microphone off so I can't hear that. Otherwise, it overpowered me being able to hear the violin and hear the music track. So, but when you find that sweet spot, oh my goodness, it's like entering a whole new world, right? And it's beautiful. And when you enter that whole new world, especially like with the kids that you help, you can never say never, right? And to dream, any dream that they want, they can do, they can master, they can accomplish it. So for me, I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. 1,000,000 dreams is all it's going to take. Yes, 1,000,000 dreams for the world you and I are going to make.
Justin, we're so glad that you came.
Hey, Dad.
Because Justin is one of us, we've got, this is like special swag that only us get, okay? So USD, this is from our COVID days. So this is our COVID Frisbee. Some of you know, we threw these around the state, and that's for you and your kids to have fun with. Okay, and then we got you this swag bag of USDB. And I'm sorry, I think this shirt will fit you, but you look pretty fit. So this is our baseball t-shirt. So you got a baseball tee. And then we've got other swag in here for winter and things, so.
Thank you.
Wasn't that amazing to hear? I think it's important that we just restate that the sky is the limit for our kids. And it takes a lot of people to believe in them to get them where they are. Justin, you're great. Thank you so much. Thank you.